It's now from Capitol Hill, Republican Senator from South Dakota, Senator John Thune, and also from Washington, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst, Eugene Robinson.
John, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay, Joe. How are you?
Well, not too well, because I was hoping you'd invite me to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. What happened?
I mean, it all looked so good.
It did. And
it was going to happen.
He's the candidate. Adorable. He's the natural.
Perfect. All-American.
Why didn't you do it, John?
Right.
John,
well,
why?
I think there's still an opening for you there, Joe. I heard you were going to leave that libertarian ticket, and I knew I couldn't take on both you and Obama at the same time.
Exactly. It'd be like a vice. No, seriously, though, why did you decide not to do it?
It's a combination of things. You know, I looked at it. We gave it due diligence, and obviously there are some formidable things that you have to look at, like raising money. But in the end, it really came down to I can make a difference where I am in the Senate. I can try and work to stop the Obama agenda here in the Senate. And I didn't think I could do two things at the same time. And so I'm just, my focus is going to be on the Senate and the work we're doing here. And there are going to be a lot of good candidates, as you know, who are going to be running for the presidency. And it's going to be a good opportunity, I think, for Republicans to mix it up out there and to get a chance to go against this president and point out the contrast in the two competing philosophies and agendas.
Well, hey, John, let's talk about the money for a second, because you're a guy who actually could have run, could have possibly won, but at some point you had to sit down and calculate out the amount of money that you would have to raise. And the president's going to raise $1 billion. You start calculating that out per day, and it's sick. I mean, how do you do that?
It's impossible, isn't it?
And serve in the Senate.
Well, it is. It's hard, especially if you're trying to do this at the same time. But I looked at it and I said, okay, I can raise the first $1 million, maybe the first $2 million in South Dakota. How do you come up with the other, $500 million? And frankly, even to get through the first three states, I mean, Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, most conservative estimates are that it takes $30 million. I mean, it is a daunting prospect for somebody to start out from ground zero and try and do that.
Yeah. Senator Thune, it's Willie Geist here. You said Republicans, Karl Rove, in fact, said Republicans underestimate President Obama at their own peril. Mike Huckabee came out last week and said something along the same lines as, wait a minute, this guy's not as beatable as some people are making him out to be. Did that factor into your decision? Does President Obama suddenly look like perhaps an unbeatable incumbent?
I've acknowledged what I think all of our potential Republican candidates are acknowledging, Willie, and that is it's tough to beat an incumbent. And he is obviously trying, I think, to tack back to the middle a little bit. And I know he's going to run a good campaign and he's going to have a lot of money. But that shouldn't deter anybody from running. Anybody is beatable. And I think when you have high unemployment and you've got an economy that's in tumult like ours is, and you've got the level of spending and debt here in Washington, there's still a lot of frustration across the country. And I think if this is a debate about the size and growth of government, our candidate has an opportunity to win this election. So as big of a prospect as it is to raise the money and to take on an incumbent, there's certainly, I think, an opportunity and an opening there for our candidate to come through and win this election. Just some things have to go right, and hopefully they will.
But it's going to be difficult. Let's go to Gene Robinson's Washington Post op-ed today, where Gene wrote this. The GOP wants Obama out but offers no good replacements. For all their bluster about making Barack Obama a one-term president, Republicans are assembling what looks like a remarkably weak field of candidates for the 2012 election. An odd assortment of the uninspiring and the unelectable. Circumstances may change, a formidable opponent may emerge, but at this point, one imagines the president is not exactly quaking in his boots. It looks a little bit tougher in March, on March the 1st, 2011, than it did on December 1st, 2010, doesn't it?
It looks a whole lot tougher, Joe. It looks, he's going to be a formidable incumbent running to keep his office. He's going to have all that money. He has already tacked toward the center. This is a tough race. I think, frankly, it's going to take somebody with tiger blood and Adonis DNA to beat this guy.
You know what, though? No, well, hold on a second, though, Gene, because even if they had tiger blood and what was the other one?
Adonis DNA.
And Adonis DNA, you know what that'd have to do? It would be like riding a Mercury surfboard throughout the entire election process. It's really going to be hard to beat this president since he has tacked to the middle, Gene.
It is going to be hard to beat him. We saw him run in 2008, and a lot of potential candidates, frankly, don't. 2016 is looking a bit better than 2012 as a time to step out there and run. So now, look, I'm not saying that he's just going to cruise to re-election, and who knows what's going to happen between now and then. But at this moment, I think you'd have to say the president's odds of re-election look pretty good.
Gene, do you think the president was having a little bit of fun with Mitt Romney regarding Romney's health care plan? Because he thinks he's probably the most formidable candidate.
You could see it.
Oh, he was having fun.
Absolutely.
It was delicious.
He has a great time with Mitt Romney, and we'll have more fun with Romney as the Romney campaign progresses, pointing out the extent to which Obamacare is based on Romney care. Let's face it. And
let's face it. Now you're doing it. Now you're doing it.
The president will never let Republican primary voters forget that.
I mean, you got Deval Patrick going after him yesterday, praising him, and then President Obama, and now we got Gene Robinson doing it as well. This is dangerous for Mitt Romney.
Wonderful concept.
So let me ask you, John Thune. We went through a few budget battles together in the 1990s. What's different in 2011? Do you think the Republicans are going to shut down the government again?
I don't, and nobody's talking about that, Joe. I think there are a couple things that are different. Of course, this time around, we had both the House and the Senate back then, and so people looked at us as owning this issue. I think, too, that the tone with which it was talked about back then is very different than this time around. And I also think that the sense of urgency with the American people is very different. I think people are willing to accept and understand these are some of the things that we have to do. And so the level of austerity that's going to take, and I would couple that with not just austerity, but prosperity, because in order to grow the economy and create jobs, we have to get spending and debt under control. And I think the American public recognizes that, and they're willing to support us as long as we are reasonable in what we're putting forward. And I think that's going to be a big difference.
All right, Senator Thune, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mika.
John, great to see you again.
You too, Joe.
I'm really bummed out. I'm not going to be able to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
I know. Joe was excited about that.
Yeah, wasn't I saying?
Look at that smile. That's a presidential smile.
He's presidential. That's what I was saying.
There.
We'll work on that. Okay.